Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. So before we get started, I just want to say that this webinar is being recorded and we will send everyone an email later today with a link to the recording of the webinar and a copy of the presentation slides. First of all, I want to introduce you to Rachel Hines, who is the presenter of today's webinar. Rachel is the marketing manager here at BrightPay. During the webinar, Rachel will discuss the benefits of integrating your payroll and accounting software and demonstrate how you can streamline the entire process from start to finish. We will have a questions and answers section at the end of today's webinar, where Rachel will answer any questions that you may have. If you have any questions, you can type them into the questions box on your control panel at the side of the screen, and we will try to get through as many questions as possible. I'm now going to pass you over to Rachel to begin today's webinar, Payroll in the Connected Era, How Integration Has Transformed the World of Payroll.
Thanks, Holly. At this very moment, APIs are connecting our digital world in ways that we never thought possible. Thanks to advancements in technology, we can automate many day-to-day tasks in everything we do, and this is all thanks to APIs. But I suppose to start off with the basics, what does API integration actually mean? API stands for Application Programming Interface, and it allows two systems or applications to connect to each other so that they can exchange information and execute predefined processes. Put simply, an API works like a virtual middleman, relaying information from one system to another. You may never actually see an API working, and this is because it's a technical concept that works quietly in the background. And although we may not notice them, APIs really are everywhere you look, powering our lives from behind the scenes. So let's look at some everyday brands that you encounter in daily life. One example of API usage is the login option that you see on so many websites these days. Log in using Facebook, Twitter, or Google. Instead of this website actually logging into your social media account, which would pose a serious security concern, the API integration provides that website with identification information from your social account so that it knows who's logging in. If you've ever purchased something on a website and paid using PayPal, that's also an API at work. Just like with logging into a social media account, the PayPal API ensures that the website can only do what it needs to do without being exposed to sensitive data or gaining access to unintended permissions. It's like with travel booking sites. By using APIs, they can collect information on thousands of flights and hotels instantly and showcase the cheapest option available. So whether you're opening up an app like Expedia on your phone to book a flight or paying for something online using PayPal, you're using an API that facilitates the sharing of data from one application to another. APIs are incredibly convenient for the end user. They gather information so that it's all in one place, and they can share information with other devices, applications, and individuals so that you can save time. However, it is important to recognize that APIs are used behind the scenes for a whole lot more than those examples could ever illustrate. This is especially true in business, where effectively storing and exchanging data is paramount to everyday operation. So where does API integration fit in with payroll? Today, API integrations have transformed the world of payroll into something much more powerful. In the past, payroll software and accounting systems stood side by side, but they never spoke or communicated directly with each other. This was a big problem for payroll processors because employee salary details needed to be entered in the payroll software, but the accounting software needed this information as well. This meant that payroll processors had to manually enter the payroll information into both systems. It's repetitive, it's prone to human error, and it's extremely time consuming. I suppose even today, depending on the payroll software that's used, this can still be a problem. Along with being a tedious and time-consuming process, double entry of payroll figures is notorious for producing errors, which then need to be identified and rectified. Manually copying the figures from the payroll software into your general ledger leaves a lot of room for manual data entry errors, and you may also need to make journal entries to fix mistakes. At BrightPay, we're always trying to develop our payroll software so that we can solve everyday problems for payroll processors. Our new partnership with various accounting packages is the perfect example of this ethos in action. Thanks to API integration, we have added the ability to connect BrightPay to a number of accounting packages. I'm not going to list them all out as you can see them here on screen. We're constantly adding to this list, and ClearBooks, FreshBooks, QuickFile, and Zoho are the newest additions to this list. BrightPay's integration has made it possible for the instant flow of payroll information from the payroll software to the accounting software. Instead of having to manually enter the payroll journals into your accounting system, they can be sent directly from BrightPay to your accounts package at the click of a button. It couldn't be any easier. If, on the other hand, you're using another accounts package, maybe QuickBooks Desktop, for example, or other ones that tend to come up are TaxCalc or VT, you also have the option to export the payroll journal into a CSV file. You can then import the file into your accounting software, and although this isn't as seamless as sending the journal directly to the accounting system, as it is with the API integration, it is still much more useful than manually copying out the figures. So how does the API work? When you enter the username and password of your accounting software into BrightPay, your nominal ledger accounts will be retrieved, where users can simply map each payroll data item to the relevant nominal account. Essentially, this nominal ledger mapping tells the payroll where you want things to get posted in your accounts software. For example, you may have a nominal ledger account in your accounting system called Wages and Salaries, and this is where you may want to post the wages and salary costs from the payroll. The taxes deducted will usually be posted to a liability account, possibly called payroll taxes, and other payroll items may also require mapping. For example, employer pension costs or pension liabilities outstanding. You may also specify any circumstances for which amounts should be mapped to an alternate nominal account. So for example, if there are directors, you may want to see their costs separated out into another account, possibly called director's pay. Essentially, you can produce the payroll journal file that is specifically formatted for your accounting system, allowing you to easily send your payroll figures into your general ledger. By integrating BrightPay and the accounting software, you only need to provide the information once, and it can then be exchanged between both systems. So I'm now going to jump into the payroll software to show you how this integration works in BrightPay. And you will see a journal button within the payroll screen, and here you can view all of the different integration options. So with BrightPay, each payroll journal file is customized to the individual accounting software provider. Today, I'm going to use FreeAgent, but they all work in a similar manner. The first thing we come to here is the date range, and this has defaulted to the month of November, as that's the most recently finalized payroll, but you can change this date range to whatever you want. BrightPay will include all finalized pay periods across all pay frequencies within the specified date range. So with BrightPay, the payroll journal can include records for payslips across multiple pay frequencies. You can also decide if you wish to include individual records for each employee, or if you want to merge employee records into total records for each unique payment date. On the next screen, we have the nominal ledger mapping. So here you need to decide where you want things to get posted in your accounting software. And because I've used this API before, it has saved the nominal ledger mapping so that I don't need to do this every time. But the first time you're using the API, you just need to select the account where you want things to get posted. So here, for example, here I have the gross wages, and this is going to 401 salaries. When we've completed this, we can go on to the next screen. And here we can add variables. So here you can specify any circumstance where you want things to get posted to a different account. And I briefly touched on this earlier with the directors, where I want their wages to go to a different account. So here I'm going to add variation to the gross wages, and variations can be depending on the period type, directorship, departments, and specific pay rates. So here I'm going to stick with my director's example, and I simply need to select director, and I'll leave all the other fields as any. And finally, I just need to select where in the accounting software that I want the gross salary for directors to be posted. So I'm going to choose account 407, directors' salaries, and save. I can also add further variations, clicking add variation and setting the rules to apply. Again, any variations are saved so that you don't need to redo this every pay period or every month. On the final screen, the journal is displayed for you to review. You can print this so that you can see a full breakdown or save it for your own records. And once happy, simply click Send to FreeAgent. So BrightPay is now sending the payroll journal to FreeAgent, and there we have confirmation that it was sent successfully. And it's as easy as that each pay period. We can view a log which shows all of the communication between BrightPay and FreeAgent. And finally, when closing out, it will ask us if we want to save the changes so that we don't need to enter any mapping or variations every time that we create the wage journal. So I'm going to go back into my PowerPoint again. And the key question you're all probably thinking is, what are the benefits of integrating your payroll and accounting software? Why are we doing all of this? Essentially, we have streamlined the entire process from start to finish so that you can spend less time and effort on keeping your payroll and accounting systems aligned. And instead, you can free up time for you to spend on other tasks that really need your attention. Ultimately, it makes your job easier, your work accurate, and your entire role more efficient. The need to manually export and import CSV files, or even manually re-entering the payroll data into more than one system, is instantly eliminated. And in its place, you have time for more productive activities. Processing times will be much faster, as you will be able to submit data in just a few clicks. As I mentioned previously, mistakes and human error are often associated with manual data entry. Fortunately, with the instant flow of payroll information from the payroll software to your accounting software, not only does it improve data accuracy, but it also eliminates the hours wasted locating and fixing mistakes. Integrating your payroll solution with your accounting software makes sense for many reasons, including efficiency, time saving, and improved workflows. I want to move away from the payroll journal integration now because I do want to very quickly mention our newest API integration with Modular. And I'm not going to cover this in too much detail on today's webinar, as I know we will be running other webinars which solely focus on this particular feature. This integration will give users the ability to pay employees directly through BrightPay. It's a fast, secure, and easy way to pay employees through BrightPay, and it eliminates the need to create bank files and the manual workload associated with making payments to employees. I'm going to jump into the software again, and I'm not going to show this in too much detail today, as today's webinar is focused on the integration with the accounting software. So once you have finished processing the payroll and you're ready to pay your employees, choose the Pay option on the menu bar, followed by Modular. On the next screen, I'll click Continue. If you're an accountant or payroll bureau with multiple clients, you will need to select the relevant client from the drop-down listing, and when ready, click Continue. On the next screen, you have the option to select the account that you wish to pay from. You can also amend the payment date, you can edit the reference if required, and pick and choose which employees you would like to pay. On the final screen, there will be a summary of the payment request, and once happy, simply click Send to Modular. Confirmation will appear on screen that the payment request was successfully sent. If you are in a payroll bureau situation where you process payroll for clients, the client or the person authorized on the Modular account to make payments will now be notified that the payments are pending approval. This user will be required to log in to their Modular account using secure mobile two-factor authentication and approve the payments. But believe it or not, this accounting software integration and the new payment integration are not the only examples of API integration in BrightPay. In fact, integration has been included in BrightPay since its inception. Look at RTI, for example. At the click of a button, you can send an FPS from BrightPay to HMRC, and within 8 to 10 seconds, you will receive confirmation back that HMRC have received the information. And as you may have guessed, this is performed with API integration. There's no need whatsoever to log into any HMRC portal to send, email, upload, or submit the data. Another more recent example of API integration in BrightPay is our integration with various pension providers. So you can send auto-enrollment files directly from BrightPay to a number of pension providers from within the payroll software. This integration is available with Nest, Smart Pension, the People's Pension, and Aviva. Without that integration, you would need to save the file, log into the pension provider's online portal, and manually upload the file. I suppose another even more basic example of integration is the way in which BrightPay is connected to BrightPay Connect. And although we have created and developed both products, integration is needed to connect both systems so that they can communicate with each other. Payslips, payroll reports, and amounts due to HMRC all flow from BrightPay to BrightPay Connect, while an employee's annual leave and update their personal details flow from Connect to the payroll software. I just want to quickly jump into the software again to show you how this works. And with BrightPay Connect, the payroll is still processed on the desktop application of BrightPay, but the payroll information itself is stored online on a secure cloud server. So if you are using BrightPay Connect, this cloud icon in the top right corner will appear as green. And we can go to Employer Dashboard, access employee self-service options, or restore from cloud backup. BrightPay Connect will automatically back up the payroll information to the cloud, and you can access the chronological list of all backups that can be restored at any time if needed. Next, I'm going to go to Employer Dashboard, and this is the online employer portal that is connected to BrightPay payroll software on your desktop. We'll see a dashboard when we first log in and various tabs across the top of the screen. The first tab I'm going to go into is Employees. And here you can click into each individual employee's profile to access payslips. And the integration between BrightPay and Connect means that payslips will automatically be available on Connect as soon as the payroll is finalized. There's no need to print or email payslips to distribute them to the employees. BrightPay Connect does this automatically for you. The next tab I'm going to go into here is Reports. And again, the integration means that the payroll data is available instantly. Any report that is set up and saved on BrightPay will be available here for you to run payroll reports from your online employer dashboard. Next is the calendar. And BrightPay Connect includes a company-wide employee calendar to simplify annual leave management. You can view all past and scheduled leave for employees, and when leave is added to the calendar, it will automatically synchronize to BrightPay on your desktop. And this means that you don't need to manually track leave on your payroll software. For example, if an employee was off sick and was entitled to SSP, you can see this instantly from within the payroll software as a result of that integration. HMRC payments also flow through from the payroll software to BrightPay Connect, which means that you can log into your online dashboard to view exactly how much that you owe to HMRC. The final tab then is Documents, and here you can upload any type of document that you want to distribute to your employees, such as a contract of employment, a company handbook, or even the likes of a furlough letter or staff roster for the following week. So that's the online employer dashboards. And as I mentioned, employees also have access to a self-service portal, which they can log into on a smartphone and tablet app. And the app is available to download for free on any Android or iOS device. The employee will receive a notification on their device when a new payslip is available, and they'll also get a notification when a HR document has been shared with them or when an annual leave request has been approved. Here on the app, the employee has visibility of how much annual leave they have remaining, and they can also view their notifications and click into them. Within Documents, the employee can view payroll documents and HR documents and resources. Within the payroll documents, the employee has a payslip library where they can view and download all historical payslips. the employee can click into the calendar, and here they can view all past and scheduled leave, or they can also request leave by clicking on the plus sign at the top right of the screen. Once the leave request has been approved, it will automatically appear on the employer and employee calendars on BrightPay Connect and also on the payroll software. And finally, employees can view their personal details that you have on file for them, and they can request edits to these details. So for example, if they moved to a new house. Again, once the change has been approved by the employer or manager, the employee's details will also be updated on the payroll software, which can also help you with GDPR compliance. So I suppose just to reiterate again, BrightPay is a desktop-based payroll software, and it is available for both Windows and Mac. BrightPay Connect is the optional cloud add-on where you can have online access to the payroll data, but the payroll itself is still processed on the desktop application of BrightPay. All BrightPay licenses include 10 activations, and this means that payroll processing is possible by up to 10 users or from 10 different locations. This is very handy for if you have a number of employees working from home, all needing access to the payroll software. With regards to pricing then, we have a standard license which is for single employers processing their payroll in-house, and prices for this license range from £99 to £199, and this is per tax year. We also have a bureau version, which is for payroll bureaus and accountants who process payroll for a number of clients, and the bureau license starts at £249 for up to 10 clients, or up to £499 per tax year, and this one is for unlimited employers and unlimited employees. Prices are per tax year excluding VAT, and each of these licenses, as I said, can be installed on up to 10 different PCs. That's for the payroll software itself. However, we also looked at the optional add-on called BrightPay Connect, and this is an additional cost. BrightPay Connect is priced on a monthly subscription based on usage in that month, so you only pay for what you use. Customers are invoiced monthly in arrears based on the number of employees that you have on your payroll within that month. So for example, if you have 10 employees on your payroll for a particular month, you'd be paying just £3.90 for that month. So that brings me to the end of the webinar. And I know I have covered a lot on today's webinar, but as Holly mentioned at the start of today's webinar, we will send everyone an email later today, and this will include a copy of the slides and a link to the recording of today's webinar. So it's now time for the questions and answers, and I see quite a few questions have come in already. So if you do have any questions, feel free to type them into the questions box, and we will try to get through as many questions as possible. So Holly, you've been keeping an eye on the questions that have been coming in throughout the webinar. So do you want to read out the questions and I'll answer them?
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. So we have a couple of questions coming in, and the first one is, do I need to send the journal for each pay period separately?
No. So the date range does default to the most recently finalized pay period. So for example, if you just processed the monthly payroll for this month, the date range would be for this month, but you can change the date range to whatever you want. So BrightPay will include all the finalized pay periods across all the pay frequencies within that date range. So you might decide to send through the journal at the end of each month and include all the pay dates, be they for weekly payroll, monthly payroll, fortnightly payroll, for example.
Great, Rachel, thank you. And the next question then was, Does BrightPay integrate with QuickBooks Desktop?
No. So I suppose to recap on the accounting packages that BrightPay integrates with, we have Accounts IQ, ClearBooks, Free Agent, FreshBooks, Cashflow, QuickBooks Online, QuickFile, Sage 1, Twinfield, Zoho, and Xero. If you're using another accounts package, as you said, QuickBooks Desktop, you would need to use the option New Nominal Ledger Mapping, and this allows you to create a CSV file ready to upload to your accounting software.
So the next question then is, in BrightPay, is there a bureau level login option for the accounting software?
No. So if you're a payroll bureau or accountant processing payroll for a number of clients, you will need to log in individually for each of your clients. There's no universal login option for multiple clients. I suppose the only exception really is Free Agent. And with Free Agent, you have the option to log in using your accountancy practice dashboard. And when using the API, you can select the relevant company that you are sending the journal for.
And another question then is, do the journals include employment allowance?
So I suppose the journals we have are essentially employee journals. So no, unfortunately it does not cater for employment allowance or recoverable amounts. Where applicable, a manual journal within Accounts IQ will be required. I suppose we have considered the idea of developing a HMRC payments journal down the line, which is where employment allowance would fall under, but there would still be a complexity around how to handle the employment allowance, especially where there are departments, etc. And so I suppose it's very unlikely that this will be added anytime soon.
Thanks, Rachel. The next question coming in is, will there be a fully cloud version of BrightPay?
I guess at the moment, BrightPay is desktop based, and we do have the BrightPay Connect Cloud add-on, which does introduce a lot of cloud features. But we do also have a fully cloud version of BrightPay that's in development at the moment. Unfortunately, I can't give you an exact timeline of when it'll be ready, but hopefully we will have a beta version with basic functionality within the next year or so. As well here, I see a few other questions coming in about the modular integration. First one here is, will I have to pay extra to use the payment integration? So I suppose the functionality to use the integration is included in the payroll software. It's not an add-on, but to be able to use it, you will need a modular account, and there is a charge for using modular. So I'm not going to look at the different pricing options for modular, but it is available on the designated web page on our website. Second question coming in here in relation to modular. What happens after someone uses the payment integration in BrightPay? How is the payment actually made? Well, once you've sent the payment to modular from within BrightPay, the person authorized on the modular account to make the payments will receive an email, so most likely the client. And that person can then log into the modular portal to approve the payment, and they can transfer funds into their modular account from their primary business bank account in one transaction to easily make the payment to employees.
That's true, Rachel. Thanks very much. And someone here is asking if they can have a copy of the slides.
Yes, of course. So you can download the slides right now if you wish on the Handouts tab on your control panel on your screen, but we will also be emailing them to everyone later today along with the recording of the webinar.
Thanks, Rachel. The next question is, can you set up different users on Connect with different levels of access?
Yeah, so I guess if you have a BrightPay Connect account, you can set up as many users as you want. So there's an admin user who would have full access to absolutely everything. But you can also set up unlimited standard users. So a standard user might be your accountant if you want them to access the payroll figures through their own dashboard, or it might be a HR manager to approve the annual leave. It could be a line manager who looks after a particular department. So you can set up various levels of access depending on what you want each user to access.
Great, Rachel. This question has actually come up a good bit. Is the BrightPay pricing per month?
No, and I suppose it probably gets a little bit confusing when we introduce the BrightPay Connect side of things. So if I just go back in my slides here, you can see this is the pricing for BrightPay payroll software. So this is for the desktop software. So these are the prices per tax year. If I move on then to look at Connect, Connect is where it's priced on a monthly subscription. So this would be on top of the payroll software, and this price will fluctuate every month depending on the number of employees you have on your payroll. So for example, you might have 50 employees this month and it might be down to 45 next month, or up to 60, for example. It can fluctuate, and the price does fluctuate depending on the number of employees each month.
Thanks, Rachel. Those tables make it very clear. We have another question here is, can you explain again how it works if I'm using a different accounting software?
So yeah, I suppose if you're using a software that isn't one of the ones that we cater for, you do have the option to create new nominal ledger mapping. So essentially, you have to add the nominal ledger codes and account names into BrightPay, and it'll just allow you to create the CSV file. You can then log into your accounting system and upload that CSV file. So there is a little bit of work involved, especially that first time, as you're trying to get the nominal codes and the names of each of the nominal ledger accounts to match up. But it definitely is a lot handier than copying the figures one by one out into the accounting software manually.
Great, Rachel. And this question has come up a good bit as well. Is just, do I have to map BrightPay with my accounting software each time?
Yeah, we do actually tend to get that question a lot. So I suppose once you have the nominal ledger mapping set up in BrightPay, it does save it so that you don't need to do it every time. So whether that's the nominal ledger mapping or as well the variations save. So just although it took me a few minutes to get through my demo as I was explaining how to add the variation, once you have that set up the way you want it each month going forward, it really is just next screen, next screen, next screen, just clicking through each of the screens. So yeah, it does save it for you, so you're not manually doing that every time.
That's brilliant, Rachel. I'd say a lot of people are relieved after that answer. Okay, so I think that's all the questions covered that came in.
Brilliant. So thanks, Holly, for asking the questions there and managing them as they were coming in. So I suppose if anyone does have any other questions, feel free to send us an email and we will be glad to help. We will send out a follow-up email later today, and this will include a link to the recording of the webinar and a copy of the slides. And I suppose I just want to say also that we do run demos of the payroll software and BrightPay Connect on a daily basis. So if you're interested in seeing more of either of those, there is a link in the follow-up email as well where you can book a demo. So I'd like to thank you all for joining us for today's webinar, and we hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.